Hey, you ever heard that term? You should never talk about politics or religion in social circles. Well, at Crosswalk, we do both. Because we're a church, we're going to talk about religious stuff, of course. That is our center. That's our core of existence, is helping people connect with the divine, whatever God is, whoever that is. We believe that God is very loving and sustaining of life and wants the best for us and is constantly wooing us and nudging us in directions of love and well-being for us and everybody else. So we're going to talk about that. On the political side, you're not going to hear me talk explicitly about Republican stuff or Democrat stuff, although sometimes you might think that I am, because they may resonate more with one party over the other. But what I'm really usually talking about when I get in trouble for talking about politics is I'm talking about issues that are core to our faith in terms of how people are treated. So I will call out, and I have on multiple occasions, when I hear our politicians, especially at the national level, saying things that I know are going to damage other human beings. I will call that out all the time, every day, no problem, because that is anti-shalom. That's anti-God. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat or whatever in between. That is a line that we will always not allow to be crossed without doing something or saying something. Mistreatment of people, treating people inhumanely, othering people based on their sexuality, the color of their skin, their documentation status, whatever country they're from, and another part of the world. Anytime we other somebody, that is sin. There's a theologian named Plantinga who came up with a definition of sin. You didn't ask for this. This is bonus material for you right now. All right, so write this down. This guy Plantinga said that the definition of sin is the culpable disturbance of shalom. Somebody messing with shalom. Well, what is shalom? Shalom is well-being. Shalom is love. Shalom is restoration, wholeness in every possible way. So when we do something to mess that up with somebody, and that's what happens when we treat people as an other instead of as a fellow human being in this life experience. When we other people, we are treating them inhumanely, and that is a disturbance of shalom, which is why we call it out. Some people don't like it that I talk about this stuff. There's even in some circles they call this the social gospel. Well, if you look at the origins of that and who was behind that, one of the key players was a guy named Walter Rauschenbusch. That's a name that, man, as a kid, he had to put that on his test. Rauschenbusch? Man, how was that going to fit on anything? Anyway, this guy, he was an advocate and one of many in the late 1800s into the early 1900s who together they looked at what was happening in like Hell's Kitchen, New York, and they recognized that women and children and people of other nationalities were being horribly mistreated by the companies they were working with. Terrible working conditions, working them to the bone. The living conditions were terrible, similarly. And they recognized that this was an offense to humanity and to God. And so together they rose up and they spoke against it, and they got stuff done. They spoke into power, and power changed because they did. Now, there were some religious folks that didn't like this, and they called this the social gospel. But you know what Rauschenbusch, how he responded to that? He said, there is no social gospel. There's just the gospel, the good news, that everybody is loved, everybody should be treated with dignity and respect. And that's what we aim to do. If you throw justice stuff out of the church, you're going to have to throw Jesus out too. We will not do that. If we are truly going to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, and that's who we are as a church, we are a Christocentric, Jesus-following church, then we're going to follow all of Jesus. And that means at times we stand up for grace and we stand up for justice. In the Older Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures, Micah chapter 6-8, the prophet Micah is having this thought experiment. What does God want us to do? And God basically says, And I could care less about your worship and all your offering of all these animals and barbecue and all that stuff for me to smell the smoke and all that stuff. But here's what I want. I want you to love justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. That's what I want. Justice, mercy, humility. Jesus certainly did that, and so will we. I don't talk about this stuff all the time, but it is a part of living in this world that we want to see the world become a better place, a more just place, and that is a very Jesus-y, shalom-y thing to do. I could talk all day about this stuff. If you'd like to talk more about this, let's grab a cup of coffee and do that. Otherwise, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you see you around the farm.